I'm joined here with Robert Rankin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've almost sold out, so.
Oh, that's good. Do you want to talk about a little bit about what you're doing here this weekend?
Well, the last 3 years we've done the SFX Awards, my wife and I, and presented the awards, which has been unbelievable because, you know, we've did the Lifetime Achievement Award for Jerry Anderson and things like that. You stand on the stage with titans, you know, absolutely. Jerry Anderson touched my wife's bum in the green room, you know you're winning. And so that's been an absolute joy. And then when this one came up, you know, we got asked to come along here, and I'm going to, in a minute, go and interview Brian Blessed, which is a reasonably terrifying thought. And then afterward, we'd be doing some kind of big show tonight. So, I mean, I just absolutely adore these events. You get to meet a lot of people, talk to a lot of interested people. It's heaven, you know. It's a lonely job, right? And you come out and do these things, it's just wonderful, you know.
Do you just want to talk about any sort of projects that are in the works?
Well, yeah. Last year, a guy called Bill Gerrards from New Zealand, he commissioned me to draw a comic book, which is called Empires, which is somewhere, which is here. I have the last copy because it's upside down printed. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
And I was an illustrator before I was a writer, and he said, "Oh, would you like to write a comic book?" And I said, "Oh, I'd like to illustrate it as well." So I spent 4 months doing this, and I really enjoyed it so much. Getting back to illustration was great. I don't think, though, comic books are really my medium. I mean, I'm more of a writer who would like to illustrate.
I see.
There's a skill and an art to comic book work that I don't really possess. So the next one is called Alice on Mars, and it's Alice in Wonderland's last adventure when she gets abducted by aliens and taken to Mars in Victorian times. So that format is going to be a single page of text and then a single big illustration. And I've been spending 4.5 months on 50 large-scale illustrations, which is a joy to do. So I'm hoping that'll come out in July. That'll be launched at London Film and Comic Con, and I'm just hoping that the 2,000 that will be piled up in my hall will get sold. But we did 1,000 of these last year, and we just sold the last one yesterday. So I mean, I was pretty thrilled that I got support from my readers, because it's always difficult if you sort of go slightly off track. I mean, mate, probably if I'd have done 2,000, I'd still have 1,000. So I'm going to do that. I have one more contract with a mainstream publisher for one more book, and then I'm self-publishing a new Brentford trilogy that I'll start next year. So I'm working harder now than I've worked in the last 20 years, and I'm in my 60s. I thought I was retiring, but I'm not retiring at all.
We mentioned just quickly before the interview, sort of your whole Toy Town universe, and we mentioned Hollow Chocolate Bunnies and the Toyminator and whatever. And you mentioned you'd quite like to go back to that series at some point. Would you have any ideas, maybe sort of teasers of what could potentially come in the future? I mean, it's all in the works.
That book was intended back in 1976 to be my very first book. And I met a guy called Alan Aldridge. I don't know if anyone remembers Alan Aldridge. He was an illustrator. You probably have seen a book of Beatle lyrics, which were done with these airbrushed illustrations. You might remember that. He did the Butterfly Ball, the Peacock Party. They're very beautifully airbrushed stuff in the 60s. And he set up his own company, and he wanted to finance writers to do something. And he came to me and he said, "I've got an idea." He said, "All I've got is there's a teddy bear in a pair of underpants standing by a fridge." He said, "I kind of dreamed it." He said, "I've got no more than that." He said, "Do you think you could write a book around that?" And I said, "Oh, I could try." But then he moved away to America, and I never saw him again. And I published The Anti-Pope and went on. And I had this idea all the time. I got a new publisher 12 years ago, and she said, "Can we do something that's completely removed from anything you've ever done?" I said, "I've got a book I was going to write many years ago." I said, "I have to tell you that the lead character is a drunken teddy bear." And she went, "Oh, you know, what if it doesn't work?" And I said, "I know. What if it doesn't work is the scariest thing in the world, isn't it? Because you tell people you've got a book and the lead character's a drunken teddy bear. They have a special sign for that, and it's that." And I thought, well, but when you're writing, you've got to absolutely and utterly believe in the characters. You've got to listen when I'm writing. I've got to hear them speaking in my head. And when I started to write the book, and it's about a boy who runs away from home because he's been badly treated, and he hitchhikes to a town, and then when he gets there, he finds he's actually in Toy Town, he's in Toy City, it's grown, and it's as corrupt as anywhere else. The nursery rhyme characters are all multimillionaires, and there's a serial killer on the loose. And I began to really get into them, you know, because you liked it, didn't you? You read it.
It's one of my favourite books of all time. I love it. It's fantastic. But that's brilliant. Just I know you're very pressed for time, but just quickly, I noticed in a lot of your books there are a lot of sort of references to old music. I mean, I'm a musician myself. It's sort of what I do, and I'm really interested in sort of like a lot of the Frank Zappa references and things in there. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that and how you like to how you like to bring it into your work?
Well, yeah, I mean, music has always been an enormous part of my life. I mean, I'm very lucky because I'm married to a musician now, so I can be a groupie 24 hours a day. You know, she's a steel pan player. She's the best female steel pan player in Europe. So she's really, really cool. And all for my life, I wanted to be a musician. You know, I was in a string of really shitty bands, and we really bombed out and did nothing. And as the years went by, I realised how much of the things I sort of think about and things I've been influenced by has been by music. And things like Captain Beefheart, who influenced me hugely, and various other musicians. And of course, now they're all dead. And we go down in Brighton, the Bonzo Dog Band have a kind of reunions, and there's like 3 or 4 Bonzos, and we go and see them, and they're little old men, but they're still as funny as they ever were. Yeah. But the whole kind of the musical thing, it's just been something that's always been with me, and it's always been a kind of essential part of what I do. I mean, I'm a complete fanboy for musicians. I absolutely, you know, I wilt in front of musicians. You know, I can play the harmonica. That's just great. That'll get you a long way, you know. So yeah, what do you play? I'm
a drummer and percussionist, and I try and pick up and play anything I possibly can. But yeah, so I'm actually in a progressive rock band at the moment. So yeah, I do love my prog rock.
You've got quite an important job in there, then, haven't you?
Yeah, thanks. But anyway, Robert, it's been fantastic talking to you. Hopefully we'll catch up over the weekend at some point, and it'd be great to just have a talk.
Brilliant.
Just once less press. Thank you very much.